Who is the true hero of the Fantastic Four? Reed, the genius scientist? Johnny, the hot-headed speedster? Ben, the walking tank? Or maybe someone else? The one who holds them all together? The one who makes them more than just a superpowered team? The one who makes them a family? In Fantastic Four First Steps, many viewers are meeting a very different Sue Storm for the first time. Assertive, powerful, and central to the team's identity. But it wasn't always like this. Not in the previous movies, not in the comics. To truly understand this new version of Sue and why she feels so right, we need to go back. Back to where she started, not as a cosmic powerhouse, but as a woman who was barely seen. Hi, it's Captain Spoiler here, overthinking pop culture, and we're about to dive deep into spoiler territory, so consider yourself warned. In the newest installment of the MCU, Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, is undeniably the true heart and most powerful member of Marvel's first family. She's fierce, she's determined, she's compassionate, and she does not let anyone threaten the people she loves. But to get there, as a character on the page and on the screen, she had to travel a long way. She had to overcome decades of bad screenwriting, sidelining, and questionable creative choices. Her journey from overlooked sidekick and damsel in distress to powerful, reliable leader is both fascinating and symbolic. And today we're going to trace that journey, from the early comics of the 1960s to modern story arcs, and through 3 very different live-action adaptations, to uncover how a character designed to disappear became the most indispensable member of the Fantastic Four.
We're here to see Dr. Richards.
I'm sorry, he isn't here right now. Is there anything I can help you with?
Yes, you can take me to see Dr. Richards.
When Sue Storm debuted in Fantastic Four #1 in 1961, she was introduced not just as the Invisible Girl, but as the team's designated damsel. Her invisibility was more than a superpower. It was a symbol of how she was treated by her teammates, her creators, and her readers. And that symbolism cuts deep. Invisibility isn't just about sneaking past enemies. It's about being unseen, unheard, unacknowledged. In Sue's case, it reflected the way women were often treated in pop culture of the time, present but peripheral, technically there but narratively absent, decorative, not decisive. It wasn't just that Sue could vanish, it's that, narratively, she did vanish, over and over again. Sue's original role on the team wasn't just limited, it was almost ornamental. Her powers were passive, defensive, and easy to ignore. She spent entire issues fainting, being kidnapped, or nervously waiting for Reed to save the day. And readers noticed. Early readers of Fantastic Four didn't just overlook Sue, they actively questioned why she was even part of the team. So many letters poured into Marvel's offices demanding her removal that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby had to address the backlash head-on. In Fantastic Four issue 11, they included a special section defending her presence on the team. They had to explain that while her powers might not be flashy, they were essential, and that Sue brought heart and emotional intelligence to a group otherwise driven by ego and conflict. It was a rare moment of metatextual awareness, a comic defending its own character from its own audience. But the fact that such a defense was necessary says everything. Sue wasn't just invisible in story, she was invisible to the readers too. This wasn't unique to Sue. At the time, female characters in comics were routinely sidelined, reduced to support roles, or defined solely by their relationships to men. That dynamic had been the norm for decades. Although the rise of second-wave feminism in the 1970s and 80s began to shift things somewhat in the comic book world, this marginalization didn't disappear overnight, and traces of it still linger in pop culture today. We saw it again when comic book heroes made their leap to the silver screen in the early 2000s. Live-action movies often retrace the same outdated patterns the comics had started to outgrow decades earlier. In the 2005 Fantastic Four, Jessica Alba's Sue spends more time navigating awkward romantic beats with Reed than influencing the plot. Her most prominent use of invisibility early on is played for awkward comedy. She's stripping on a bridge while phasing out of visibility. And that moment, it's not just a one-off joke. The film repeats the gag several times, turning Sue's nudity into a running bit, undermining her dignity in moments where her powers could have been a display of strength. In the 2015 reboot, Kate Mara's Sue fares slightly better in terms of intellect. She plays a crucial role in building the Quantum Gate, but she's sidelined from the main dimension-hopping sequence altogether, basically acquiring her powers off-screen. In both those early versions, Sue's role is largely defined by the male conflict around her. She seems less an autonomous figure and more a symbol in the personal feud between Reed and Victor Von Doom. Still, even in those early comics and films, the seed of Sue's importance is there. She's the one preventing or diffusing conflicts in the group. She comforts Ben Grimm, reassuring him that he's still human beneath the rocky, monstrous exterior. She's the emotional anchor when Johnny's ego spirals out of control or Reed loses himself in equations. But it's also clear that for decades, the writers, both in comics and in film, didn't really know what to do with her. Each of the men in the team had a defined core. Reed was the genius, Ben was the grumpy muscle with a heart of gold, Johnny was the impulsive show-off. Sue? She was either eye candy, a damsel to rescue, or an emotional buffer for the others. Present, but often not taken seriously as a character in her own right. But Sue is more than just a support beam. She's the glue holding the team together emotionally. Even if the stories didn't always give her the spotlight, she was already doing the invisible work of keeping the family intact.
Did you know I could create a force field inside someone's body and expand it until they explode?
Fast forward to the John Byrne run of the 1980s, Fantastic Four issues 232 to 295, and Sue begins a dramatic transformation. She's no longer Invisible Girl. She becomes the Invisible Woman. A name change, yes, but also a declaration. She's not just present. Now she's in charge, refusing to be patronized. Sue really starts to grow as a character. She pushes the limits of her powers, discovers new and unexpected ways to use them, and becomes increasingly powerful and proactive. Byrne showed us that Sue's powers are potentially the most versatile and devastating among the whole team. Her force fields can hold back gods, and sometimes even Reed's ego. This evolution is hinted at in Rise of the Silver Surfer. Sue actively protects civilians, blocks attacks, and plays a key role in trying to reach the Surfer and reason with him. She's more assertive, more active, but the film still devotes much of her arc to wedding drama, as if the fate of the world were a background nuisance to her. Even in the flawed 2015 reboot, there's a profound moment when Sue uses her powers to block Dr. Doom's link between dimensions. It's brief, but for a second, we get a glimpse of the tactician and powerhouse Sue could be if written well. Sue's tactical evolution continues not just on screen, but also on the comic book page. In Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run, starting in 2018, we see a fully realized Sue Storm. No longer the female member of the group, but a leader and negotiator in her own right. She's called upon in interdimensional crises, holds her own in battle, and regularly takes initiative in both field decisions and diplomatic conflicts. She's not the loudest voice, but she's the one others look to when things fall apart. What's striking is that the storytelling no longer treats Sue as an exception. Her competence isn't highlighted with asterisks or caveats. It's just assumed. Her powers are formidable. Her judgment is trusted. She's no longer the invisible girl. She's a pillar of the team, visible and essential. Sue is also consistently the team's ethical compass. When egos clash or obsessions take over, she's the one who steps in with clarity and empathy. She's the first to question not just what they can do, but what they should do. Whether it's calling out reckless behavior, grounding Reed's detachment, or keeping Johnny from spiraling, Sue brings a kind of emotional intelligence that holds the group accountable. In the comics, she often challenges Reed when he crosses ethical lines in pursuit of knowledge. In the films, we see her serve a similar role, calling for restraint, pushing for transparency, and reminding the team of their responsibilities to each other and to the world. Her moral clarity often cuts through the chaos, making her the voice of conscience in a team driven by extremes.
Are you the protectors of this world?
Yes, we are.
Your planet is now marked for death.
In the latest Marvel film, Fantastic Four: First Steps, we finally get to see the culmination of everything Sue has become. No longer a sideline support, she is the team's core. In this story, Sue is pregnant, symbolically embodying life and legacy, and yet she continues to lead from the front. Her stand against Silver Surfer is not just a tactical move, it's a declaration of guardianship. Yes, we are the protectors of this planet, she declares in an instant before any of her teammates reacts, not out of pride, but out of duty. This willingness to face overwhelming danger while carrying new life speaks to a different kind of strength, one not driven by force or ego, but by fierce love. Her matriarchal role deepens after her child is born. Sue isn't just a mother to Franklin, she also becomes a maternal figure for her team and, in a way, for the world around her. When Galactus presents the Fantastic Four with an impossible choice, sacrifice little Franklin or doom the entire planet, the team is paralyzed by fear and helplessness. The men, usually so confident and action-driven, suddenly have no idea what to do. They've encountered a problem too powerful to solve with brute strength and, at least in that moment, too complex to outsmart. And while they freeze, overwhelmed and uncertain, it's Sue, terrified but still able to think beyond her own fear, who steps forward. She remembers that they're not just fighting for survival, but for the people who still look to them for hope. As superheroes, they have a responsibility, and she chooses to embody it. When a panicked public feeling abandoned by its heroes turns against them, it's Sue, the mother with the most to lose, who steps forward to lead, not with force, but with presence, empathy, and quiet strength. Her honest, heartfelt words rebuild trust. Her leadership is both strategic and profoundly humane. And when the final confrontation comes, Galactus looming, hope dwindling, it's Sue's love that becomes her strongest weapon. Her force fields surge not with fear, but with desperation of a mother trying to save her child. This scene is a fitting metaphor for her journey, from Invisible Girl to Earth's most powerful shield. Sue Storm's story is more than a narrative of growing powers. It's the story of how visibility, in every sense of the word, can evolve, if creators are willing to look past tropes and see the character underneath. She began as a near-background presence, a damsel, a girlfriend, a plot device. Her very power, invisibility, made her symbolic of how women were so often treated in pop culture, present but overlooked, useful but underestimated, there but not seen. And yet, she endured. Over the decades, Sue Storm was slowly rebuilt, not through sudden reinvention, but through accumulation. Emotional intelligence, tactical thinking, relational leadership, raw power. Her story became one of resilience and growth, a reflection of how women in media have had to fight not just to exist in stories, but to matter in them. She is no longer the invisible girl. She is the storm at the center, the shield, the strategist, the soul. In a team of larger-than-life personalities, Reed's intellect, Ben's strength, Johnny's fire, Sue brings something subtler but deeper, balance. She turns a collection of powers into a real family. And that, ultimately, is what makes her the true hero of the Fantastic Four. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and be sure to watch this awesome video next.